All right, guys, welcome back. This is Matt. I'm here with Ric and Lee, and we're going to talk about some of the progressions of the AR-15 throughout the years. These guys will tell you a little bit about themselves, the history, and why they're good people to talk about this. So I'll hand it over to you, gentlemen.
Thanks. I'm Ric Sutton, one of the owners of Aggressive Defensive Solutions. We're a weapons and tactical training company based out of Tidewater, Virginia. And we've been at this since about 2000, I think it was. And we run the gamut of everything between military and law enforcement and instruction, and we do a lot of civilian and firearms training classes. And then we also run the second Saturday series of shooting matches. Lee?
Yeah, I'm Lee Curling, and Ric and I've been doing this for quite a bit. My background is I did 20 years in the military as an MP. Went downrange a couple times, and kind of where we are. Yeah.
And we're here at the beautiful Academi, formerly known as the BlackWater facility. So it's always fun kind of coming out here and slinging lead. But when you guys were kind of in the know and going through, and what was really popular and what did you enjoy when you first got into it?
So Lee and I are both old enough that we're both Cold War guys. I joined the Marine Corps in 1986, and I was in the Corps until about 2005, and then I cross-decked over into the Coast Guard. Spent most of my time in the reserves, those components, and I was a police officer as well. Spent 31 years as a cop. So when I first came along, when I first got involved in shooting the AR platform, Colt and the Marine Corps were still in the process of developing the M16A2 system. Laughingly, my stepdad, I got introduced to the AR-15 platform because he had a Colt Car 15, which he paid $350 for at the time, which is amazing. I wish I could pick one of those up for that today. And it looked an awful lot like this system here. Yep. So this is going home for me.
Yeah.
So I grew up as a young teenager and as a teenager learning to shoot off of one of these, and then I went off to the Marine Corps and they taught me how to shoot the M16A2 and introduced me to a bunch of other stuff. And then I got involved in police work. And police work at the time, nobody except the SWAT guys carried rifles, and they all carried something that looked a lot like that. Yeah. And I was involved in some tactical teams. And then I got involved in competitive shooting, and that led me to working with guys from special warfare units and other big name law enforcement agencies. And so I started watching the progression of things, how they worked out. Yeah. The first thing that happened really was things got lighter.
Yeah.
So the idea was make it as light as it could be. And then companies started building stuff. Lee and I were joking. What model EOTech you have? Well, there's only two. There's the night vision and the non-night vision. I got the night vision one, right? So everything, not unlike the cell phone business, right? So we started out with these great big things, and so you had this big M16A2, and then we went to the A3, and of course the Navy wouldn't give the Marine Corps the money for the M4, so they gave it to the SEALs. But so everything got smaller and lighter, and then more and more companies started building more and more stuff. And as we were talking about, the AR-15 platform has become the Harley-Davidson soft deal of the rifle world. If you can dream it up, somebody makes it already. You can bolt it on there. So my experience from the law enforcement aspect of it was the guns became more and more technical, more and more user-friendly, but more and more accessory-driven. Yep. And so I wasn't monkeying with those guns as much in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. I carried an M16A2 and a Beretta 92, and monkeyed around with M60s and Mark 19s. But from the policing standpoint, from the competitive shooting standpoint, and then when I was an instructor down here at BlackWater, all the units that had unlimited budgets came in with everything. We started seeing the crane stocks, and everything was set up for cans. And that's really, I think, the proliferation of cans is where people started concerning themselves with having short guns. Yep. Because you had to have a short gun because you put a can on it. And that was my experience working with that stuff down here. Yeah. We've reached a point now where a lot of folks are taking a really, really functional, in my world, really functional 6.8 pound carbine, and they're hanging a bunch of stuff on it, so it's like lugging around a 240.
Yeah.
kind of goes against my grain. What's been your experience? Because you were with Big Army and you were.
Oh yeah. So I started, the Army gave me a steel pot and an M16A1. So it was I look here and this was none of this was the early, right? The early version, right? So this is like the closest with a thick stock and a 20-inch barrel. And then and I stayed in and went through to Desert Storm kind of guy. Went in OIF1 and by OIF1 I had an M4. Right?
Okay.
So and jokingly, we were talking about the EOTech a little earlier, and you've got the
Old school endpoint.
The old school, the rail adapter.
The arms,
the arms,
yeah.
And OF1, I carried an EOTech on a drop down, in front because there were no flip up sights, right? So it was carry handle or not, right? And then so really, prior to that, it was. This is what I had in the Army.
Yeah.
Right. I grew up hunting. I grew up with shotguns. I grew up, bird hunting. That was really what I grew up with. And after the fact, after I got an M4 in the Army, I really started to enjoy that platform. Right. And that kind of changed. Right.
Yeah.
So my first adaptation, for me was the AR-15 with a 16-inch barrel. Right. I got an EOTech.
Yeah.
Really, really heavy, Knight's Arm, 4 posts in the front. And so it's, and a soft mod stock and that's what I've been running for the last long time now,
That's
right?
what
12, 15 years, right? And it is interesting coming down here seeing this because this is kind of a home. This feels homey.
Yeah.
I think if I painted my gun in the Army, that would be the whole thing because I was big Army, right? We are going to paint our guns, But I do see the the progression here on stuff, and then really are moving into this is what we're seeing on the range, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing really
So you'll see a lot of
skinny down stuff,
kind of the modernized stuff. You got your different coatings with your bolt carrier grooves. You got your cans and your lights and kind of all your whiz bang stuff where that wasn't always the case.
Yeah. So, but as we talked, so I went from the M16A2 when I was in the Marine Corps, and I cross-decked over the Coast Guard, and I was especially at the Coast Guard Investigative Service. And so I carried a Mark 18 as part of my kit with that.
Yeah.
So I went from driving a Model T Ford, to driving a brand new Ferrari.
Yeah.
And it was nice. It was a big switch out. Much more handy weapon system. The ergonomics on them are changed just enough that it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And if you've not been exposed to them, you don't know the difference. It's funny. We joke all the time about people don't know how good they've got it. Well, if you're carrying something as nice as this, where you've got poly-coated parts and everything's smooth and everything runs right and everything's nice and everything is machined well, and then you go, well, yeah, of course you do well with that.
Yeah.
Here, take this thing that was a reject from some dude in Vietnam who got mad at it and drove over with a truck, and that's what you've got to go to war with.
Yeah.
Remember the old front sight post that was round or triangular, right? And you could,
and always bent.
yeah, it was always bent. It was always jacked up. One year was always twisted over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the old M16A1 sight system.
Mm-hmm.
That was the A2 sight system. People don't realize how game changing that was, where you could look at a number and dial in your distance.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to standoffs and the like. But the materials have gotten so much better.
Yeah.
The metallurgy that's involved. And the nice thing about it is because it's an intuitive system, we joke around all the time and say, if you've got an orangutan who speaks English or German who really wants to learn how to shoot, I can teach you how to shoot an M16 pretty well. They're a really controllable system. They're intuitive. And they're not quite perfect, But every time you turn around, you go, well, that's as perfect as it's going to get. And then somebody comes along and they make a 3% change, and that's game changing. It's nice, but it's interesting to see how it's gone. I'm at the point now, so I've been carrying AR-15s of some standard as a cop or in the military or out here as an instructor for 3 decades, better than 3 decades. And I've reached the point, when we've talked about this, where I'm at a stage now where weight and mission criticality are important to me. So I'm not running an EOTech most of the time. I'm never running night vision. I don't have my own night vision. I don't need it, and I'm not going to spend the money on it, because from my standpoint, if I need night vision, then I'm in the wrong place, because I'm a civilian these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's money I could spend on range time and getting better with my shooting. But so I run as light and as uncomplicated as a system as I can.
Yeah.
So it's funny, I was talking to a buddy of mine. I'm thinking about building yet another truck gun. I got more AR-15s than I know what to do with, right? But you came out and you did a class with me,
Yep.
and the training gun that I grabbed was an Armalite built copy of an XM117.
Yeah.
You know, and I get people all the time go, "Why are you carrying that old retro ass thing?" And I go, "Well, it's light and it's accurate." And they're like, "But you don't have a rail on it." And I go, "Yeah, because if I had a rail on it, I would hang crap on it, and then that would get heavy, and ounces become pounds." Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's the problem. One of the things that we joked about was we went from the M60, segueing, we went from the M60 where we said, it's a great thing, a war pig's a great thing, but it's really heavy. We should go to a lighter weapon system. Okay, so we went to the 240 and we were like, yeah, that's really not comfortable for infantry. Oh, we'll do the 249. The 249 is amazing. Yeah, look at this. We got a rail for it. Ooh, I can put a light on it. I can put this on it. I can put a IR strobe on it, and I can hang this on it, and I can now make it heavier than my M60 ever was.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to hump this thing around with M16 ammo in it. So it kind of becomes counterintuitive at some point in time.
Yeah.
And so my only concern about stuff, and if you want to buy this stuff because this is what you like, and this is what you want to run, hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good idea. And the nice thing about it is you can be as individual as you want. You can go slab-sided and slick as you want, or you can get this thing to do your taxes for you, which is probably what that one does. But truth to tell, I mean, if I had the time and the energy, I'd, it wouldn't piss your boss off. I'd like to come out here and just run the shit out of these guns, because they are enticing. It's like being at a donut counter, man.
Yeah. No, it's fun to look at, where you've come from, mid 90s, early 2000s, kind of, late 2000s, and then kind of modern, and see it's not that long, but we progressed, and, what's old is new and what's new is old, right?
And
well, I was going to say, it is amazing to me, right? It is the huge progression, because, again, we had the discussion about the Knights, rail on the front of these, and how hard they are to find now. And I'm looking, I've had it since that was the thing. Everybody needed one, right? I'd like to go find, the old, the retro handguard, right? The lights up. Why? Because I don't put anything on the front of the gun anymore. I don't need, IR
You don't have that
I don't
need,
have a light. Right? So why have the extra weight? Yeah. But we've now progressed into a much simpler, much lighter, front rail system for these guns. And you're right, it has been a huge progression in a relatively short period of time. And that's not driven by the military. It's not driven by law enforcement. This is driven by the sport community. Yeah. Right. That's
make
really
it lighter and more capable, right?
Right. And it's for guys that come out and do these type of competitions. They're looking, how do I maximize, right?
Yeah.
How do I maximize the ability to run this gun? And the number of cans I see now, really, and I think it's great. I mean, quieter guns are always are always better when you're when you're out here on the range.
Yep.
So, but it is amazing the number of guys that are coming out with hands. For
And they're really,
competition.
they're showing up and they're putting the work in.
Showing and putting up the work. Yeah, putting in the work is that's the key.
So if people want to come out and they either want to train with you or they want to do your competitions, what's the best way to do it?
This is the guy in charge of all the info. So I'm the guy who gets in front of the crowds and runs his mouth and says stuff that people remember. This is the guy who runs. If you want to come shoot second Saturday series, or you want to find out about coming out and training with us and how to make the logistics happen, info or Lee at aggdefsol.com. Aggressive Defensive Solutions.
Yep.
I was like, I'm not at all creative. Everything in the Marine Corps was the first 3 letters of every word of your command. NavSpec War. I know who that is. Okay, AgDefSol. So that's where we came up
And we'll
with.
leave a link down below. You guys can go check them out. Every second Saturday of the month they're out here, and you can also train with them as well. So it's a great experience. I've driven 14, 15 hours a couple times now to do it. It's well worth it, and it's always good to get out and train. You got stuff. You got great stuff. Get the proper training. It's well worth it. So, thank you guys.
Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And
It's always good to spend time with you.
we will see you guys soon. Thanks again.